Got some high quality rusty metal primer for this thing, so we're gonna hit it with some Rust-Oleum. Cover up all this rust with a nice rusty brown red. And then I got a little bit of, I don't know what this color looks like, gloss royal blue. So we'll find out what that one looks like once we get onto the actual motor. Maybe it'll be dark, maybe it'll be light. I really don't remember. I think that's one of the colors we mixed when we painted the van. Don't recall, but lay some paint on here and if you haven't watched any of the previous videos, Falcon motor grenaded this super nice, and by that I mean thrown together with a million extra parts that I have laying around, mismatched motor. So I had a 302 crank from the van. Actually, this motor originally came out of my truck. So 64 Ford with a 302 swap. It's like a 73 Bronco. Originally in my truck, bought it running and driving-ish, ran like crap, didn't actually want to stay running, needed a ton of work, but got that one dialed in, ran this for a while. Built a roller cam motor for the truck, took this motor out, put a roller cam motor in the truck, kind of hot-rodded, stock bore, stock displacement, no machining rebuild type deal. That one runs like a top. Took the van to Minnesota for Van Nationals. If you've never been and have a van, go. It's a blast. If you have been, awesome. I'm sure you had a good time. If you don't have a van, find somebody with a van and go to Van Nationals. They change the state every year. It's a really cool little show. But we went up to that in Minnesota last summer, 2 years ago. I don't remember, 1 or 2. It all blends together now. But we were coming back from Minnesota and the motor grenaded, washed out, wiped out. I did an AOD swap for that trip, and the thing didn't want to go anywhere or move at highway speed, which in retrospect, looking back, I thought it was a trans problem because that was the newest thing I swapped out. I had a C4 in there and I put an AOD. I just thought it was underpowered, didn't have enough power in the motor to make it work, whatever. Fast forward, learn a little bit more, make a couple mistakes, and I realized that no, it was the motor that was tired and it didn't make any power, which is why I had to like pretty much full throttle every single slight incline or hill, regardless of the gear that I was in. Made it up there fine, no issues, no breakdowns. On the way back, started misfiring a little bit, then ran into all sorts of issues. I'm pretty sure the timing chain jumped. When I yanked that motor apart, there was probably an inch of play in the stock chain. It still had the stock plastic chain bushing or whatever, the weighted crap that the one single roller, well, not even a roller, single timing chain would have had with all the factory Ford parts. Those all came out in chunks when I ripped that motor apart. Cylinders were completely washed out. It was done. It was just toast, threw in the towel. We made it about 2 hours from home, had to get towed. Tried limping it on 6 cylinders as much as possible, and then it started shooting fireballs and grenading and fireballs out the exhaust, gunshots every half mile. It didn't idle, didn't do stuff. So I had the roller motor built for the truck, yanked that, pulled the motor in the van real quick, had this motor out, put the roller cam in the truck, got that dialed, running, driving, still needed a bunch of tuning, but went through it, got everything kind of set up. When I had the roller motor was in the truck and the truck was then running and driving, yanked the van apart, yanked the motor out. I think there's some of the first videos I posted on this were doing that roller cam swap. I already had a roller block built over the winter. Super budget, just fresh bearings and rehone, nothing fancy, not a performance deal. It's going in a van. I didn't really need much, but it does have ported heads, which I might flip-flop at some point when I get around to getting this together. Freshened up the motor in the back there, the blue one, the painted one. Freshened up this motor, kept it flat tappet cam, trying to do just a quick budget build. That's a 73 block, I believe. It's got a Summit 470, 480 cam lift, 480 on the lift. I don't remember the rest of it. It's been a little while since I looked at it, but oh yeah. So we're looking at intake at 294, exhaust at 294, 471 lift, 1.6 rocker ratio, 278 duration, something. I don't remember the details. I looked at it when I ordered it, but it was one of the cheaper ones, and with the lifter problems that I keep hearing about, I'm like, if I'm going to spend some money on a flat tappet cam, we will go ahead and do that with a cheaper one instead of dropping, you know, multiple hundreds of dollars on a name brand cam and still have the same lifter issue that I ran into. So tried that. This motor's rehoned, brand new crank bearings, rod bearings, main bearings, whole 9 yards on a bottom, stock, no machining, freshen up, rebuild. Didn't work. First fire up, ran okay. Second fire up, started ticking a little bit. Kept going and kind of thinking it was, it's a lifter, maybe it's just not pumped up, it just needs a little more, let it sit idle for a little bit more. You know, didn't work, wiped out the cam. And then when I went to go turn the idle down, I heard it ticking even louder. Definitely knew it was a lifter. I was really hoping it was just a collapsed one. Not so lucky. Pulled the intake manifold off. I looked down. Lifter was pumped up. Ton of play in 2 of 16. So if you were in high school, 2 wrong, 14 out of 16 wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, but not on a fresh motor. So Falcon motor's out. I'm gonna drop the oil pan on this. I just drained the oil. Need to go through, chase this down, blow out the oil pump screen, because this has all new parts, brand new oil pump, pickup tube, water pump, timing chain, pretty much everything. It was a brand new fresh build, brand new piston rings, brand new gaskets, seals, etc., which I'm not even going to count into the equation. I had this 5.0, thought I was going to be in good luck with this, went to disassemble it, broke 6 exhaust studs, 3 oil pan bolts. Was not happy with coming apart, which really sucked, because the guy I got this from swore up and down, oh, the trans is good, it's got 140 psi of compression. Cranked it over by hand, but I painted the block yesterday thinking, all right, it's gonna be okay. Started rolling it over. Don't have a compression gauge on it. I'm rolling it over with a wrench by hand, with the valve covers off, just checking to make sure everything looks okay. It did, but cranking it over, I did not feel a whole ton of pressure coming through the cylinder head. So I'm like, you know what? Heads are gonna come off anyway, because this one has trick flow springs, and these are E7s already. It's a 73 block with E7 heads. Those are E7 heads, unported, unmachined, just crap. So I'm like, we'll pull one plug off, see what happens. So I pulled the head. Valves look okay. Underwalls are not in the greatest of shape. I know this is going to be really hard to see in the dark. Not in the greatest of shape. I'm rolling the thing over a ton. Turning it over by hand with the wrench. I know what a fresh motor feels like. I know what the compression should kind of feel like. Yes, there's variables with head, valve train wear, but everything else. I wanted to try and run this as just a junkyard motor. Slap it together. If it knocks, it doesn't really matter. I literally need this thing to be mobile and make it 5 minutes back and forth to the shop while I start doing some of the more important fab. Can't do that because turning it over by hand, 6 of 8 cylinders felt pretty strong, consistent, not over the top, pushing your finger out of the spark plug hole, but turning it with a wrench, but also not dead. 2 of them, I would get little like real weak. I don't want to chance it. The motor's already apart. I don't want to spend any more money on a rebuild, nor do I know if the parts are available. I'm looking at a couple $100 max to freshen this one up. The cylinder bores don't look good, but they don't look that bad. I think I can get by with a rehone and a ring job. Unfortunately, I have a full complete stock bore re-ring for the old style motor. On this, it's an 89. I gotta double check, because I know when I did the one for the truck, it ran metric piston rings, which means the ring lands are different. I got the oil pan off of this. I'm gonna flip the motor back over. I'm gonna pop off the rod and main. 1 rod, 1 main. Roughly see what the bearings look like. If they're in good shape, again, this is not going in a daily driver. This is not going in this needs to start and run and drive every day. This is gonna be a race car, and I'm gonna mess up a ton of stuff in the course of building it, which is fine. I think, since one head is off, I'm gonna pull the other head, because I'm not happy with this and it should have more compression. Like I said, there's no major scoring. I didn't give it a crazy look because it was starting to get dark. But I'm going to clean this up a little bit, rehone the cylinders, at least put the stock size bore rings back in. Fresh set of rings, fresh rehone. When I take everything apart, I'll label everything, move everything. If the main bearings, cam bearings, all that check out, it might actually go back together while I start sourcing parts. Again, I don't mind tearing this apart to do a full rebuild again. It took me 2 hours to yank this out of the car. It wasn't the worst thing in the world with the trans attached. I got a million variables that I'm fighting. I don't know if this transmission actually works. I've never driven the car that it came attached to, so I don't know if the trans works. I don't know rods, mains. I'll kind of give that a quick inspection. Freshen up the cylinder bore and send it. I'm going to put it back together with the stock cam, provided everything kind of checks out when I do a quick teardown. I also just dropped the drive shaft out. They said they're about 2 weeks to get that back to me, which means I got 2 weeks to play around. If I can get all the bearings and I can get all the parts, I might just do a quick no machining, freshen up, throw in rod bearings, crank bearings, and hoping the cam bearings are okay. If I got to do another set of those, it's not that big of a deal. On the bottom end, on this, I know this probably ate a cam lobe, but if I take it apart and everything looks really clean and it didn't chew up all the bearing surfaces, maybe we'll do super budget redneck butchery and flip-flop the internal bearings, the brand new ones. It's got 35 minutes of runtime at idle. Well, higher idle, but 15 minutes of runtime. If they're not roached, scratched, whatever, maybe do some flip-flopping. Who knows? Roller cam block. I have a high lift 574. It's like equivalent to an XO3 cam. I'll try throwing in. Eventually, I would like to get heads for this, aluminum heads for this, or maybe I'll take the AFR 165s off of my truck, because if I'm building this to go fast, I don't necessarily need the truck to be that fast. And all of the high RPM gains that I get on the truck are awesome. I don't really need that because it is a work truck. So that's kind of where we're at. I got the block, like I said, block is painted, garage is destroyed, car's up on jack stands. The other one I'm burning a bunch of trees out of so I can use it again. Gonna disassemble this motor, gonna finish disassembling this motor, at least yank the other head tonight. Tomorrow morning I'll roll it outside in the sunlight, take a better look at the cylinders, see roughly where I'm at. If there's no scoring or major gouging, then I gotta just double check on parts. I got 2 weeks. If I can't have this block done before I get the drive shaft back, it kind of changes things. Wouldn't be that big of a deal if I was stretching this out, but I don't have room in the garage for a car. I don't want to be working on the car this winter. Winter time is for building Harleys and motorcycle things. So that's kind of where we're at. I know it's a long-winded rant. Hopefully you guys appreciate it. If you do, like, comment, subscribe. If you hate it, you think I'm an idiot, tell me that too. I won't be offended. Any other suggestions, or if anybody has a good line on some cheap aluminum Ford heads in the market, let me know. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.